Hello and welcome everyone. Another day, another big model release. I'm here today with Juan Pa.
I don't know which camera to see, but hey everyone, I'm Juanpa. I do developer experience here at Code.
Yeah, great to have you. We have to talk about Fable 5, the latest models from Anthropic. You run some of our internal benchmarks as well as some of the other testing that we do here at Code. So, yeah, give us the rundown. How does the new model feel?
Yeah, there's a lot to say about this model, and at the same time, I think there's not too much to say. What I mean by that is this is the first model released by Anthropic that really feels similar to what I would expect from like a Mythos-esque model. But at the same time, when I'm doing the code review tasks, there are some things, there are some caveats that I have identified. So a little bit of everything. I think very different stories, what we see on benchmarks, what we see with user experiences, what people are talking about and their opinions about the model. So there's a lot to cover today on what this model is bringing to developers and what to consider if you're thinking of moving to this new model as a developer.
Yeah. Give me maybe the lay of the land. Let's start with the benchmarks that we have internally, maybe, and then we can work our way through some of the other testing that you've done.
Totally. So multiple things from Fable 5. Number one, we're still kind of like discovering what type of model it is. We had like Opus before, we have Sonnet. Now we have like these different like family of models, but sometimes same family of models called Fable. So when we get like these new models, it's really hard to know where we're going to be putting this model into. In our code review benchmarks, something that we have identified for some time now is that models are being tailored towards like developers and building and coding with them. But lately, we haven't seen a lot of progress in the code review side of these models. And this is a trend that we also see with Fable 5, where we check out with our baseline. Our baseline is essentially an ensemble of different models that we're using at CodeRabbit to perform code reviews. Then I also took some time to compare those with Opus 4.8, the latest version of the Opus family, and then Fable 5. And what we identify is that currently it doesn't seem that moving to Fable 5 might be the best decision for people who want to use this model for code reviews. I'm not saying that the quality is not good. I think the quality is pretty good. But the main reason why I say this is because of the cost. Right now, Fable 5 costs twice as much as Opus. So if you were already spending all of your money on Opus, if you're trying to do the same thing with Fable, of course you can do it. But at least for code review tasks, I would recommend, first of all, of course, using CodeRabbit. But also, if you want to go to your own like single model type of reviews, Opus seems to be the best quality versus price.
Let's double click on that actually. Why is that? Is there something that is different with the thinking? There's something, maybe the model runs for longer apparently, or is it just that a single run of inference just costs so much more?
Yeah, that's a great question. The model does spend more time reasoning through the code reviews and also through code generation. Something that we notice is that for those who are really into speed, Fable might not be probably something that you would use, but the model is very thorough. So our benchmark does identify that it has similar findings, but where we see great difference is in the number of comments. So Fable had like between like 15 and 20% more comments than any other model. That can be good if those comments are precise and are available. It can be noisy if those are like lower quality findings. In our research, we found that there's a combination a little bit of both, but it's targeting more towards like nitpicks and small changes. One of the biggest complexities about code review is just identifying what information to surface the user. Since there's like unlimited amounts of building code and reviewing code. And what we identify is that yes, there's more comments on each code review, but also most of those extra comments are nitpicks.
Yeah, let's maybe look at the one of the tables that you have published in your recent blog post here. So we can take a look, and I will blend that in for anybody who's watching on YouTube as well. So maybe this one here is a good one to look at, where you're comparing it against the baseline that we currently have, as well as the recent release of Opus 4.8 that we looked at.
Totally. As you can see, like these three family of code reviews have the same scoring. So you have 66, 65, 66, so kind of like the similar actionable paths. The part that I put the most attention was the comments piece, which is what I was mentioning before, where the comments we have 206 with the Code Rabbit ensemble, you have 220 with Opus 4.8, and then with Fable you have 253. So it's like a considerable amount of change, and I think a lot of that is just because this model likes to, first of all, understand the environment that is being used first. It likes to be able to understand the files, the connections between each files, and then it goes very thorough into each of these pieces. So it has more time and more thoroughness to go deeper into your code base.
Yeah, but at CodeRabbit, of course, we're trying to be very aware about the noisiness of our review tools. So, and to a certain degree, our users might perceive this as overwhelming.
Yeah, it might be overwhelming. And then if you get too many comments on your PR, it's like when you have like a senior before AI, right? Like when you have a senior doing a lot of comments on your code, this could be like something that you're just like are going to ignore, things that like you lose a lot of trust in the tool as well. And again, I think the biggest piece and the biggest part of this story is we're seeing costs about like $25 per code review with Opus 4.8.
Yeah.
I wonder if that will duplicate as well as the cost for tokens duplicate with Fable. So paying $50 per code review might be something that not a lot of people might pay for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's move away maybe a little bit from that benchmark that we have internally here at CodeRabbit, and we can talk a little bit about DeepSuite, which is another benchmark that I know you run very extensively.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that benchmark, and then tell us the results, please.
We try as much as we can to run DeepSuite. DeepSuite is this new benchmark specifically made for long horizon tasks. I like it a lot because it's, first of all, it's done by a third party. I've seen the data and the work that they've done, and it seems very relevant to the type of tasks these frontier labs are trying to put their models to test with. So imagine very, very long horizon tasks. We've tested it with a couple of latest like releases. And for this one, we had a very unique story. The fact that Fable was not, one of the things that we discovered is that Fable got timed out by the DeepSuite agent. And the reason why is because while performing these coding tasks, the agent spent more than 90 minutes performing or trying to solve each of these tasks.
Give me a benchmark just to compare, like how long did it take for Opus, or maybe also, I know you run this on Codex as well.
Yeah. So Opus and Codex, Codex would take normally 12 to 17 minutes per task. Opus takes a little bit like double that, so 24 to 34. And then Fable took more than 90 minutes.
Yeah, so we don't even know, at least 3x or more in terms of the time.
And it is kind of an important consideration when you're doing this for coding, the expectation that these new family of models probably is going to be taking longer to solve your coding tasks.
Yeah.
That being said, the passes versus like fail of the tasks that were performed or that we could run the whole test on, we did see more of them passing than failing. So about like 60% of them passed, 40% failed. What is important about like this, I think I covered that a little bit more in the task profile part where we talk about like the token consumption and the time. For a pass test, it takes 43 minutes for Fable to run the full task, and it's consuming around like 35K tokens. And it's something we see a lot with Anthropic models is they consume more tokens in general, and also they're a little bit slower, but that makes a lot of sense if you think about like the model taking its time to understand the environment first, the model taking its time to explore the files and the project itself, and then start to reason and work through it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Seems like we're really spearheading into a new era where, long horizon tasks and very autonomous execution of agents are becoming more and more standard, and also the model providers, the frontier labs, are building towards that direction.
And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that the model spends some time understanding the environment that it's running on. Because if you're running these long horizon tasks, you want to ensure that you know which environment you're running on. You want to know which tools you have available, and then the model can play around to solve the task. Normally, long horizon tasks, the last you're looking for is something super, super quick. Normally, it's something that you can run the agent for like hours or a few minutes. So definitely the idea here is that at the end of that long horizon task, you want to have your agent to be successful.
Yeah.
And in this case, unfortunately, we're not able to have enough data to prove. But if Fable now using this knowledge of the environment helps it out to be more successful on these long horizon tasks, even if it takes way, way longer to get to that result. I think there might be like a good hypothesis there of, the user doesn't want the speed, they want thoroughness, and they want probably having the best possible result, even if it takes like that extra time to get there.
Yeah, so can you share some of the results of the tasks that did complete?
Yeah. Well, one of the benchmarks that I love running, and this is like a personal project, I love doing this thing called the Burrow. I do it with all of the different models that we have tested out. It's essentially an Elden Ring replica, but I have Code versus the box. And the idea here is creating games has multiple pieces to it. It has things like what's the game design? How is the model thinking of the props on the game? How's he thinking about the sprites of the game? How's he thinking about the interaction and strategy? How is the kind of like AI-ish perception of the boss that you're fighting for? And particularly with Fable 5, I was very, very surprised by the result. I think it's one of the best designs, the most balanced approach to the game. I run another test called the Battle Snakes. Battle Snake is this game that we used to play before AI, where we would have teams building snakes and then like fighting each other in like the classic snake game. And you would have to create different strategies for the snake to win the game. And most models will come up with unbalanced game mechanics for the game. And Opus and particularly Fable came up with a very balanced approach where you don't have the same snake winning all the time.
Yeah.
It's always a rotating kind of like snake winning different games.
Okay.
And that is very, very unique in the sense of we never tell in the prompt, hey, build a balanced game, because it's kind of weird to ask the model to do that. And in this case, we were able to see that Opus and particularly Fable now with this release did this on its own. So I'm very, very interested to see what people can build now with this, because it does take this experience that we had with Opus in the past of it filling the gaps and trying to understand the intention of our prompts, even if we are not verbal about them or we are not like writing about these intentions. It's really good at filling those gaps. And I think Fable is performing really well for these coding tasks.
That's awesome. Do you want to show us real quick what you got there?
Yeah. So let me get this open. So one of the first things that I noticed with the game design is that it came up with like this very interesting starting menu. I never asked it to create like this starting menu, but the fonts and everything around it is pretty much what I would love to see on this game.
So you feel like intuitively it understood you very well.
Yeah, and it understood not only what I wanted, but also the design elements of it. And I think that's really interesting. Then I have here like Rabbit, I can go and fight. The other thing that I normally take a look at is the sprites, how they look, what happens. There's like, for example, a stun animation.
Oh, wow.
It's actually pretty surprising. The thing here that is also interesting, it has a really good mechanic for getting your stamina consumed for both like attacking and
I can see the shocker goes through every time it jumps, right?
Yeah.
So how long was the prompt that you set for?
Probably took it like not that long. It took probably like half an hour, 40 minutes to build this from scratch. It's a green. I love this attack. This attack is so random and it killed me, of course.
Oh,
and I love that it comes because it's like review rejected. And it created a little bit of a story of like the repository has been cursed by like this box. And then if you win, it tells you like the curse has been lifted or something.
Yeah.
So
and how long was the prompt that you gave into it? Was it like a very thorough description of the game?
It wasn't that big. Normally, what I had to do in the past to get a good result was to ask like Claude or Codex to build like a very long prompt and then put that into it. Whenever I saw that, for example, a model was not performing well, with this one in specific, I did see that I'd give like a short prompt saying like, hey, I want this game. These are kind of like the things that I would like on it. probably it's like not. It's probably a prompt that anyone would write,
Yeah.
and it performed like super good.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah. No, super cool. Thanks for sharing that. I also did bring prompts that I think might be worth sharing here. So lately I've been diving a little bit deeper in with one of our colleagues, Airfound, into testing models on different riddles, especially around like testing the way they tokenize words and then also their general knowledge. So I've been running one instance of Claude Opus 4.8 here on the right side. We have the new model. Copy some of my prompts here. We can see, oops. So the first one, it's a small riddle that kind of is a very, very good showcase of how deeply embedded some of the training data, even in the newer model, still is.
Okay.
So the prompt that we have here asks, a group of 4 people needs to cross a bridge at night. The bridge is very old and wicked. They have only one torch because it's nighttime. The torch is necessary to cross the bridge. Each person walks at different speed. Alice takes 1 minute to cross, Bob takes 2 minutes, Charlie takes 5 minutes, and David takes 10 minutes. What is the fastest time they all can cross the bridge?
Okay. Interesting.
What do you think out of the top of your head?
This is just too young for me to respond, but I would love to hear what these new models come up with.
Let's see. Let's
So here you have Opus and you have also Fable running at the same time.
Exactly. So we have Fable on the right side, responding a lot quicker, as we can see actually, in fact, here, but shortly after that. Interesting. So they gave me 2 answers. Before they were both different, but now they are the same. I think the last time I ran this, Opus was giving me 19 minutes and a Fable was giving me 17 like they do now. The interesting part about this is they're both incorrect. Because if you if you logically think about this, there's no limitation set here, right? Why can all of these people not cross the bridge at the same time? So hence the longest time becomes the limiting factor. In this case, 10 minutes because I think David takes 10 minutes. So there's no reason, obviously, for all of these people just to pair up and choose. The problem is that in the training data of these models, this riddle has been embedded with the limiting factor, which used to be 2 people have to cross at the same time and one person has to rerun back and forth. So it's a mathematical problem that you have to solve. And that's very interesting because you see that still, even though we are advancing further and further, we see that the models are still tied to the same limitations of whatever is embedded in their knowledge base. So the similarity, I mean, I guess in the Euclidean embedding space, where we have all the knowledge stored, this is still too similar somewhere in the training data. So these type of limitations are still not solved, but we're getting better. This is another riddle that I found that used to be very difficult. If you run this by Haiku or Sonnet, you will see that it's still not able to solve it. So this one talks about 2 logicians, A and B. They're wearing hats with positive integers written on them, and they're told that the numbers are consecutive integers, meaning that 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. So like you and me sitting here, both of us have a number on our forehead, and we need to kind of guess what the number is that we're wearing on ourselves that we can't see, right? And the limitation is number A. So maybe me, Hendrik, looks at number B and says, I don't know my number. B looks at A and says, I don't know my number either. Then A looks back at B and says, oh, now I know my number, it's 3. And then the question is, what is your number? What is B's number? And you kind of have, it's a challenge for the memory state of the LLM. So you have to kind of reason through and then understand, okay, based on the timeline of events, the narrative shifts, right? Because at the start, I didn't know my number. Now I'm saying I know my number. Now if I'm number 3, you only have 2 choices. Either it's going to be 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah,
exactly. So in this case, LLMs used to be always not remembering the previous state, so they would often guess number 4. But now we can see there's some improvement since A has 3, B has 2. So that logic and that reasoning is sound. And the last one that I have is just a tokenization question, which is, what part of London is in France? You have any suggestion what that could be?
What part of London is in France?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so the answer is the letter N.
Okay.
Rethink like yourself on like a token level, and sometimes a lot of LLMs have problems with that because they might split words not only for one single letter but by perceive different parts of the organization. Here we can actually see that Opus 4.8 got it right. The letter N is in there, and then we see that the new model Fable 5 actually did not understand the question and says that there's no part of none of that.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
So apparently what you need to do as well and this is probably related to the long horizon test, like slowness and results that we see, is that you need to have some sort of clarity in the prompt in order for it to perform best.
Yeah.
So these cases are very, like, they're riddles, right? Like they're meant to be confusing. They're meant to like make you think a little bit like thoroughly. I would have failed as well as Fable, but what I find really interesting as well from these tests is that you can see that Fable also took like 50% longer than Opus 4.8, and still came out and said like, I don't know the answer. So probably that is something similar that we're seeing with the long horizon test, where there's not like a clear end goal, or kind of like it needs to reason a lot, and that's why it's taking longer, because it's trying to figure out the response and say, hey, I have no idea.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, obviously there's more testing to be done, more lessons to be learned here, but it is interesting that even though we see major improvements, your game looked better, some of the benchmarks that I'm sure they're going to release will also show improvements on several factors that we haven't tested here, but there's still enough riddles to solve, so to say. Yeah.
The other piece is we need to consider this might be the first model in a new family of models.
Yeah.
So there's still some time before it gets like a little bit better.
Yeah.
And we see this with all of the new model releases that come out. Always the first generation, it's a little bit rough on the edges, but then as they iterate on top of it, it gets really, really good.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's close it out with here. Thanks, Juan, for taking the time.
No, thanks for having me.
Awesome.